All right, so aperture is at a 4.5, so that's about a 4.56 split, which means my key light needs to be 2 stops over if we're thinking about Sony cameras. And I'm at about an 8:11 split. Check it out. There we go. Okay, cool. We are 2 stops over. We're good to go. All right, Mrs. or Mr. Filmmaker, you've got 3 scenes that you need to light, but you only have 2 lights. How do you do it? Well, I'm about to show you how I did it. This isn't the one way, the only way, the best way to do it. This is just my interpretation, only using 2 lights. And those 2 lights were the Amaran 200X comboed with the Lantern 90 and also the Falcon Eyes 2x1 bicolor light matte. This is just my way on how I did it. I'm interested to see how you all would light this scene any differently, or would you do it similarly? Heck, if you've made it this far down the rabbit hole and you're trying to figure out some ideas of how to light 3 different scenes using 2 lights, or just light anything with 2 lights, then maybe you need some ideas. So here's one. So here we are in the first location, or the first scene. The first thing I do is look for windows. How can I use the available light to my advantage? And it's pretty much just by putting the window behind our main talent, just to add a little bit more light, because again, I'm only using 2 lights, so I don't have the most power. One of the lights that I'm using is the Aperture Amaran 200X paired with the Lantern 90, and it just makes for a soft gym light, which is really nice. That's what I use for my key light. The second light that I used was the Falcon Eyes 2x1 bicolor LED matte. I love this light. They're both really portable, and for me, having 2 lights that are extremely portable and bicolor helps out a lot. So again, we're gonna do the wide shot here, and as you can tell, the key light is coming from the window side. Now, I kind of jumped a line on the wide shot, as you can see, but that's okay, because when we come in for coverage, we are filming on the key side, or the light side of our subject. Now, this isn't the only way or the best way to do it. This is just the way that worked for me and this scene. I normally like to put the camera on the shadow side, but again, don't be afraid to break your own rules, because again, I did it here and it looks pretty good. As you can see, the camera is on the light side, like I said. The nice eye light is huge in the eyes, and it looks very pleasing to me. And I like to try to keep my lighting motivated by natural things that exist in each location. And this just so happened to be a window in the background. All right, moving on to the second scene. We are in a office location. The walls are black, which means there's not gonna be a lot of light bouncing everywhere, which is actually really nice. Something that I try to do my hardest whenever location scouting. We found this dark room, and I think it came out perfect. So one thing that the director and I did was move this table so that in the wide shot, we are shooting along the walls. And the reason why we moved this table, because this room was extremely small. We really wanted to maximize the space. So by shooting diagonal and shooting along 2 different walls really makes this space feel a little bit bigger than what it actually was. And for this particular scene, I actually only used 1 light, and that was the Falcon Eyes 2x1 bicolor light matte, and we pushed it into some silk diffusion just to make the light even more soft. I use this because, again, that room was incredibly small. So the only thing that I did was I put that key light, the Falcon Eyes light, on the far side of our talent. That way we can give them a nice edge light, and for me, it just adds a little bit more depth to the image while shooting on the shadow side. Now, when we move in for coverage, I went for the Roger Deakins look, and all we did was have clean singles for this coverage. Now, having clean singles is actually really nice, because I was able to move in the Falcon Eyes a lot closer to give a nice soft key light. Now, this may not be your style, or it may not be the one way or the best way to cover this scene, but for efficiency, it works really, really well, placing the light behind the talent, or on the opposite side of the talent, I should say, and filming into the shadow side. Now, if you're finding that the image is way too dark, all you have to do is move over your key light closer to camera, adding a little bit more light to the shadow side. And again, all of this is to taste, so wherever you want to place the lights is totally up to you. This is just one way that I did it. And again, I'm super interested to hear in the comments how you would film this scene any differently with 2 lights. And here we are, your favorite, my favorite, nighttime exterior. Very, very tough to do. So all I did was I took that Amaran 200X, put it behind the talent, and blasted it pretty much at their backs in the wide shot. Now again, placing your key light or the main light behind your talent gives them a nice edge light, especially when you're filming at nighttime and you don't have control over any other lights, or you don't have any more lights. Just adding a nice edge light to your talent really helps separate them from the incredibly dark world that they are in. Now, when we moved in for coverage, I had to get really creative. Now, there's the house here that you see. These 2 women are trying to break in this scene. And I have this huge wall, which is the house. So all I did was I took that Amaran 200X and bounced it off the wall. I didn't have any other materials to use for diffusion, so all I literally did was point the light into the building, and in turn, I think it gave a nice soft light. So as you can tell, I'm placing the camera on the shadow side, adding a little bit more depth, a little bit more contrast to our talent. And this is, again, not the best way or the only way to film this. Heck, you could have put the camera on the light side of the talent and been looking into the key side. I just thought I would keep it dark because the scene kind of called for it. They are sneaking around, breaking into someone's house. So it only made sense to me to put the camera on the shadow side, and I think it came out really nice. And then also I did use that falconized light for a nice edge light. So that is how I shot 3 different scenes only using 2 lights. How in the world would you do it? Would you do it any differently? Is there a better way to do it? Because I'm just like you, I'm learning how to be a better cinematographer, a better filmmaker, how to have better composition, which I think is far more important than where the lights are, because I think most of us by now have an idea of backlight, have an idea of the framework. If you've heard those words, you know what I'm talking about. If you didn't, let me know in the comments. We'll talk about that lighting technique, but it's all about where you place your talent, the blocking of the scene. And I'm getting better at that because trust me, there are a lot of scenes that I wish I could have replaced or had some sort of influence to the director of where the characters in the scene should be to have the best composition, which ultimately I think is a lot harder to learn than lighting, because you can watch so many lighting tutorials, but composition, that's tough. Anywho, let me know in the comments down below if you enjoyed this kind of content. Maybe you learned something, maybe you didn't. And again, this is not the be-all end-all way to film a scene using 2 lights. Again, this is just my interpretation of how I did it and how I saw each scene play out, only having available to me 2 lights. So if you enjoyed this week's video, you know what to do. Go ahead and do a super jump on that like button down below. And also get subscribed to the YouTube channel, because yes, every single Wednesday, just like today, is a brand new vlog. I'm Matty B, the cinematographer / student, and I will see you all in 7 days. Fight on. Wow, why did I do this in the rain today? I don't know. Any other YouTubers do stuff in the rain? I don't know, maybe they do. It's kind of cold. I had to cover up all of my lights. This was fun. All right. I'm done.